This episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the newest episode of the Believe in Oregon podcast. My name's Zachary, Neel. My co-host Jonathan Stewart and I are joined today by Travis Rooke-Ley, the director of content at Ducks Rising, one of the NIL funds for the Oregon Ducks. They help turn fan money and engagement into NIL dollars and cash for the players, helping retain players in Eugene, bring players to Eugene. You know, they're doing a really good job over at Ducks Rising, getting fans intel and information about the team and, helping your money, your donations actually go to the team and keep some of these players here and help Dan Lanning and Marshall Malco build an eventual championship roster here in Eugene. So we sat down with Travis for 20, 30 minutes, talked about the NIL space, talked about what it's like in this current era of college football, and a little bit of a spring football preview too, kind of what we're excited to see. So that's coming up for you. Really good interview with Travis. We hope to have him on again soon in the future. Right now, let's get into that interview. All right, we're thrilled to be joined today by none other than Travis Rooke-Ley, the director of content at Ducks Rising, one of Oregon's leading NIL funds. They're directly giving fans an avenue to donate and contribute to the team and helps Dan Lanning and the team keep their top players in Eugene and also bring them to Eugene. Travis, what's up, man? Thanks for coming on.
Of course, man. Good to have you on, fellow South Eugene alum. So good to see you and Jay Stu. Thinking back, my favorite Duck game probably ever is 2007 at Washington. So still got those memories of you.
Yeah, man, that was a fun game. We ran all over the place, literally.
Those fans were so pissed that day. Oh my gosh, that still stands out in my mind. Every road game I've been to.
Yeah, what was that like as far as leaving the stadium?
I still vividly remember getting multiple uncooked hot dogs thrown into the window of my car as a 17-year-old.
Wow. Throwing at your car? Were you guys just like in a yellow car? Were y'all just like flagged up? What's up?
Windows down, flags out. We were 17, probably had some things to say. So I can't say we didn't. I can't say we didn't deserve it, but it was worth it.
I hear you.
Sure, it wasn't unwarranted. Yeah. Well, we've got a ton to talk to you about today. I know that both Jay Stu and I have a million questions about what it's like kind of operating in the NIL space in today's day and age of college football. But can you start by just kind of telling us a little about what Ducks Rising is and informing the fans about what Ducks Rising is and how they help the team?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we like to think of ourselves as kind of the fan accessible collective at Oregon. Obviously, we've got an amazing, partner in Division Street, and they, supported by a lot of ex Nike guys, and they are the major collective at Oregon. No bones about it. But what we are is a fan accessible entity. So like fans are able to be in for as little as like $10 a month, and we think of ourselves as kind of the grassroots of the NIL world. So we have different membership options, and what we're doing and we're kind of pioneering is a model where not only are fans able to contribute to NIL and like that specific like acquisition and retention of talent, but they're getting something out of it. So we have a membership model and different tiers in our community where fans can receive, recruiting intel, team intel, connection to staff and players. We have a players lounge built with like current and former players that we have like live Q&As, virtual stuff with athletes. So we feel like we're given our connection to the university and kind of our benefit to them, we do get something out of it as well that we can pass back to fans.
So am I correct in saying that there are quote unquote Division Street athletes and Ducks Rising athletes? Are there like, some athletes get money from Division Street, some athletes get money from Ducks Rising? Is it kind of split up that way, or is it all kind of in the same pool and works all together? How does that work?
I would say same pool for the most part. I wouldn't say like directly one or the other. I know that we have some athletes that we like support with a larger share of the money that we bring in. We just signed, for example, Bryce Betcher today and announced it. So that's one that he's serving on our board and like helping. Last year we were able to sign Justice Lowe, Devin Jackson, Connor Soleil in season. So we're here to support, help out, kind of with what the staff needs, and obviously it's like ever changing world, and things are getting updated by the day in terms of guidance from the NCAA and where money can come from, where can it go. We try to be kind of flexible and there for the staff wherever they see a need.
How closely do you work with Division Street? I mean, is it like you two are kind of after the same thing, but working side by side? Are you working together on stuff? Is there like a close relationship between the two entities?
Not super close, I wouldn't say. I think the common thread is like the staff. I think the staff ultimately, and those around the building, I think starting with Marshall all the way down, kind of, they're the ones who see the vision and see the need, and then I think they know, based upon this, you can come to us and we can help fill in that gap, or based upon this, we might go to Division Street. So I think all of us have the same goal, which is why we can all work together. So Division Street, Coach Lanning, Marshall, ourselves, like we all just want a title in Eugene, and we're willing to do whatever it takes.
I mean, we had Andrew Parmentier on the podcast last year. What's it been like kind of working with him? Because from what I got, this is kind of his, like, his idea, his baby. He just wanted to be able to give back to his team and like just create this. What's it been like kind of just seeing it grow over the past year and grow to X? I think you have what, 6 times the subscribers you had. I saw you say that recently.
Yeah, I mean, from the start of, I came on in basically like August, September, and we're up 6x from then. So it's been fun to just see the like fan engagement and fan excitement around it. I think it like starts with education for us. I mean, I think just like helping fans understand this like new and changing world that I didn't even understand at first. So, I mean, it's just been fun. I mentioned before, as a Eugene boy, kind of like I eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, but have to be able to, work and have, my hard work and the stuff I'm pushing out, go towards the same thing we all want, has been fun for me.
Hmm.
So as a fan, I can just go and donate as much as or little as I want and be a part of this.
Yeah, so if you go to ducksrising.com, we got like different membership options. So like our starter package starts at $10 a month, and fans have access to our community. So our community lives all through this Lockerverse app, which is where we have different like chat channels kind of embedded within that. So the community kind of lives through there. And then at different tiers, you kind of have different levels of access. So our $20 tier gives you access to our premium channels and also access to all of our live Q&As. So we have a couple lined up with players and staff in the next couple weeks that's through there. And then once you get up to that like $50 a month tier, that's where you have access to our players lounge, and access to a couple other benefits. So it's really, we wanted to set a low price point for that first thing because we wanted just like fans to feel like even for as low as $10 a month, like you're able to both contribute towards a great cause, and then at the same time, like you're getting something out of it.
And I want to emphasize too that like listeners, you're not just paying this $10, $20 a month just to like get recruiting intel and be able to talk to some of the players. Like this money is going into the NIL funds that helps get transfer portal players to Eugene, helps get recruits to Eugene. Like it's not like you're just paying for another recruiting service, another 247 Sports or On3. Like this is actually going into the program and helping them build that team and like Travis said, bringing that championship to Eugene eventually.
Yeah, what better way to feel like you're a part of something, right? The camaraderie aspect. That's what you love about being a part of a team. And if you're a graduate, alumni, a lifelong fan, it's a great opportunity for you to say, "Hey, I was a part of building, the 2025, NCAA champion football team." So,
Yeah.
that's incredible. Especially just kind of the thought, with all the moving parts of NIL, to be able to hone in and to actually run it and to grow it since you've been there 6x. I mean, kudos to you. I mean,
It's
obviously
impressive.
it helps. It helps that you had a good season. for people to really kind of get on board. But I want to ask you, with Oregon moving to the Big Ten, how much has that helped with all of this being in the NIL space?
Yeah, well, I mean, our ultimately our goal is to help with, retention and acquisition like we talked about earlier. And I mean, I can say directly from some players we've heard from who've like hosted recruits or portal guys or other thing, and then from the staff, like the move to the Big Ten is a game changer. I don't know how much you heard it back in your recruiting days, but I think I'm realizing now how much the Pac-12 was like negatively recruited on when it comes to Oregon. And you just hear that sentiment coming up over and over. Aside from the financial gains, like our athletic department will have, like just the sentiment coming from recruits and athletes, like playing in the Big Ten versus the Pac-12. I grew up loving the Pac-12, obviously, because I'm a Eugene guy, but it's clear like not everyone felt the same way. I don't know if you experienced that same thing.
Oh yeah, we definitely felt it. Um, Kind of like the stepchild a little bit. But when you get up there, it's all about the geography at the end of the day. People are fearful of the unknown, right? Um, Not a lot of marketing advertisements to southern regions about what's in Oregon. People play the Oregon Trail in elementary school, and that's about it. So so this is so I mean, being the Big Ten and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it just kind of opens up a lot of doors as far as what's in the Northwest, right? That team is in the Northwest, so
That team out
Well, and I'll
west.
say
yeah.
we've had, just speaking of the NIL piece and connecting into that, we've had so many, like, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about NIL out there, but I think the biggest one is that like athletes are spending their money like on lavish cars and all this like crazy stuff they don't need. The number one biggest thing like we hear from the athletes we've signed is that they use the money to like fly their families to road games or home games.
Mhm.
And so like for a
Yeah.
kid from the South, a kid from Florida, a kid from Texas, like if we're going to convince a kid from Texas to, turn down UT and come here, like we got to be able to offer them something. And if that means we can fly their family to every game with their NIL funds, like that's huge. So I think just for Duck fans, like understanding some things like that, it's like that's where your dollars are going. It's not going towards, funding the Mercedes they want to buy.
Yeah, it's better than Tennessee racking up the ticket pricing to for games to get NIL money, right? Like sneaking your way in.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, and it feels to me like this kind of, in my opinion, this is kind of where sports media, at least at the college level, is going. I think in the way of ducks rising, so to speak. It used to be that reporters had sources in a program; they were able to get scoops, and get intel like that. But now I feel like as these collectives start to rise up, coaches are incentivized to retain that information for selective groups and be selective with who they give that information to. And if they can give it to, a reporter like yourself who can in turn, quote unquote, sell that information, I don't know that that's the right word, but give that information to people who are paying to put money back into the program. I think that's just kind of the way that in my mind I see this going in the future. And I don't mean that as a negative way at all. I think it incentivizes the programs, it incentivizes fan engagement. It kind of makes everyone a stronger part of that community. Do you think that's like how things are moving in your sense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this staff definitely plays things close to the vest, and I don't
Yeah.
foresee that changing in certain ways. But I do think you're right in that, and that's kind of the model we're banking on is that we're providing direct utility, and with that, there's certainly an exchange that I think is beneficial to us. So, um, you know, if there's a secret visitor coming into town or some team news, the guys popping off in practice, it makes a lot more sense for the staff to tell us and let us have that info and share it with the members who are donating directly to them getting better players in the future than having that be written in the Oregonian. So yeah, I think totally that's a method that's out there, and I think you start to see a couple others. I know Alabama, like when they
Mhm.
rehired Ryan Grubb, like their collective was the one that leaked it. So I think that it's probably going to become more and more commonplace moving forward.
So obviously you have, as of the content director of Ducks Rising, you have intel on the program and you have some stuff that you can report. I'm sure you have a lot of stuff, a lot of information that you can't report. how do you balance that? As in, is it completely on you to where it's like, I don't think the staff would want this getting out there, or have members of the staff said, hey, like I'll tell you this, but like this is completely off the record. How does that go? How does that balancing act work for you, where you want to give this information to your members and to the people who are giving the program money, but also wanted to stay in good standing with the coaches and not leak something that they don't want out there?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge all of the tight-lipped stuff that we get from any staff, the worry is just leak. I mean, that's ultimately what comes out of just leaks. If you guys remember back to like the Decorian Moore commitment when that got leaked an hour early, I remember staff telling us a few weeks after that that like that almost literally ruined their chances, and he like reconsidered things and opened things back up. Like
Wow.
that's how crazy some of these things are. And so
Mhm.
I think we hear stories like that, and then we also hear like staff mention a lot, like they just want kids to be able to like have their moment. Like I'm sure Jay Stu, you can relate. Like when you make that commitment, TV, Instagram video, whatever it is, like that's a special moment for kids. And so when 10 247 guys go in 5 minutes before and make a crystal ball, it like kind of takes away some of the shine from that. So it's definitely a balancing act trying to figure out what can be public and what cannot. But we feel like we have a good system with tiers where they kind of become more like sensitive information as you go, and we really make sure that we talk to the members and kind of educate them about what the downside is, because I think everyone wants to be that puffy guy who knows something, but if you think it might cost yourself a guy, like I think you kind of realize quickly maybe that's not the smartest thing.
You don't have to get into details, but have there been any things that you've put on Ducks Rising where maybe a coach or someone was like, "Hey, maybe don't share that next time?"
Thankfully, I haven't had like a direct one yet. I like err on the side of like caution and not using names. Like if we have someone committing that I know, I'll be like offensive player, like watch out for a 2026 offensive guy. So like I am so worried about given how connected we are and how much like we work hand in hand. I'm just like super worried and err on the side of caution. I'm sure some of our members might get frustrated sometimes because I won't say something or will tease something, but then one of the national guys on like On3 or something will get it and announce it, and like they quote unquote beat me to it, and I'm like, well, cool. I mean, they talked to the player or the family or the coach. Like staff didn't want us to say anything, so like
Mm.
I don't know exactly what they want out of us sometimes.
There's also been a
Mhm.
big problem over the past years of like, members of, I'll say, like, Scoop Duck or 247, they will get some of that inside intel and, screenshot it and put it on Twitter for the masses. Has that been a problem with you at Ducks Rising? Do you worry about that? Are there any things that you could do to even stop that? Because you're putting the information out there. No one's really stopping someone from screenshotting it and releasing it to the masses when it wasn't meant for them.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I feel like it happens everywhere. We try to, our highest tiers, we try to like our plan, like with the players lounge, for example, where that most like sensitive stuff will come is like to try to like almost vet the people that are in there to
Mhm.
prevent against stuff like that. But, I don't know. We had an idea one, on, I'll date myself a little bit. On like Snapchat, it'll tell you if something got screenshotted.
Mhm.
We thought about trying to like build something like that into our app, and we're actually still like tinkering with different ideas like that. But
It's not a
I mean,
bad
it's just the
idea.
nature. It's the nature of the world. Like, because if they don't screenshot it, they'll just copy and paste. I mean, it it's hard, but we feel like we're in a pretty good spot, at least with the info that can really hurt us. Like we just we say what we can, and we don't say
Yeah.
what we can't. We're not going to post that 10 minutes before Ohio State that Jordan Birch is out. That's just not really helping anyone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a technology there's gotta be a technology that gets created at some point where it's like AI, where if you tried to record like a video or audio, it automatically just like goes white sound. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you create that, you might be onto something actually.
Or even
For
just, like,
sure.
revoking memberships or something if that ever happened, like, I feel like that'd be step 1
But like if
in
I was a
stopping
if
that.
I wasn't an Oregon fan and I just like, hey, I'm gonna if I was a Ohio State Buckeye fan, I'd go up in there and ruin shop every offseason in recruiting.
That's true, what's
Right?
stopping Ohio State fans from paying $50 a month and
Yeah.
and getting all of the secrets out.
No, I mean, to be honest, I don't know if I should say this or not, but I've come this far. Like that's why we haven't had that's why we don't do free trials.
Yeah.
Because I don't want freaking UW fans popping in there and then posting on Twitter about everything. So like
Yeah.
there's definitely concerns there, but I would just say like if fans are joining Ducks Rising because you're expecting to know every little detail and you want to know, like I mentioned the Birch example or different stuff like that like weaponized information that can actually hurt. Like Dan's not letting that stuff out.
It's
Mhm.
not.
And so even if we get tipped off to something, we're not going to be that person either.
You should take the LinkedIn model of connections, right? So like everyone has a profile and you go LinkedIn to like, okay, this person is an Oregon fan or this person graduated from Oregon. And so that way
You
you
can.
have a little bit more of like, checks and balances at least as far as who's in there and who's not. Because that could get a little haywire. As a player, we were talking about, having your moment and having, things, to the chest, right? And if I'm a coordinator and offensive, a head coach, like these are all great platforms, but I also have to protect, my players, especially these young men, right? So there's a lot of responsibility on your plate there, bud.
There definitely
Yeah.
is.
But how do you I guess really my question I had earlier, going to head coach Dan Lanning, right? And how his philosophy and the media, the content that they push out, like how has that influenced the way you guys handle your platform?
You thinking like the video, all the video, crazy like video stuff
Yeah.
they do and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I mean, I think ultimately all that notoriety, national discussion, a lot of those things going viral. I think, ultimately that just helps Oregon and helps, build that national brand that we were talking about, help extend our reach. Obviously you were part of the kind of the group that I think started making Oregon cool, and contributed to that kind of national buzz. And I think just like playing off of it, it helps us. And I think it helps us, specifically, we talked about like, acquisition and retention of guys. I mean, the work we're able to do in the portal, the way you hear some of the portal guys we brought in. Like I know this year, I was just talking the other day to a guy that pretty plugged in, talking about Bear Alexander, like a guy like that who's been at Georgia, who's been at USC, and like the difference in like the culture and the environment at Oregon and like what they're doing. So like I think the video production, the uniform, all that stuff, like that's made Oregon cool. And then I think when you combine it with the unique part of Coach Lanning is like the culture, the environment, the buy-in, the development, that stuff. When those two are linked up, like he's done it, it's just rocket fuel, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's like synced up in a really, really positive direction. All that together.
Mhm.
What of
Just
that $10?
go
If
ahead.
I
Go ahead.
was, yeah, what of that $10 goes to the player, per subscription?
$9.70, 97%.
Huh,
Nice, man. That's
that's
awesome.
impressive. That's what you
Yeah.
want to hear.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
fired up about it. We feel like where we're at right now and where we're going and the changes we made, new website, new tiers, some different things we're offering. Like the fans who are in right now are in a super cool spot because we're like this app is pretty new. And so we're kind of in the development phase with different stuff. We're rolling out a new chat this week and a new web version. So there's a lot of exciting stuff to come. So we're just trying to make sure the fan base knows what it is because, if you asked 100 different Oregon fans what NIL is, you probably get 100 different answers.
Yeah.
We just
Or
want
a
to make
lot of
sure,
I
like,
don't know.
yeah, we just want to make sure, like, we freaking owe our lives to Phil Knight, but at the same time, expecting just one person to, carry you into this next new crazy world, isn't realistic, and we need like grassroots effort to make this thing go.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the new website? Is that just gonna be like a more fleshed out version of Lockerverse, or is it gonna be like I'll speak for myself, like a Ducks Wire, like a Duck Territory, like a Scoop Ducks, like where you have daily content? What's the plan for that like?
Yeah, so the site in itself right now, we just kind of did a revamp, kind of like exciting more. We feel like the site right now just is indicative of Oregon and the innovation excitement that comes with U of O. But the plan is part one was just kind of the new site, new tiers, new offerings. Part two will be just a whole like back end once you log in. So for members starting April 1st, once they log in, they'll have access to the web version of our community, all our chat channels, all our articles, all of our video interviews that we've done recorded. So they currently have access to that all through mobile, but we're like super close to building out on web, and we think that'll be, for all the Duck fans who are sitting at their office all day scrolling, they can have that up, similar to like a Discord type thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Do y'all have tailgates and stuff too?
Our first one we're rolling out is for the spring game, so details to come. But we're gonna have a big like Ducks Rising tailgate on the east side of the stadium. Try to get a bunch more members there. Get together some of our members right now, and then doing our best to have a presence in the fall. But man, is it hard to get real estate at Autzen in the fall? So we thought we were important, but we're fighting some battles when it comes to anything official. So we'll get there.
I want to get into spring football. Jason, you got anything else about Ducks
Nope.
Rising in particular?
No, that's it.
Let's talk ball. We're just a couple of weeks away now from this spring practice, getting started. This new look Ducks team. I've been going through position previews over the past couple of weeks, and this is really a new look team across the board. I mean, we got so many new starters coming in. I'll start with this, Travis. Just a simple question. Who of the returning players, and I'm going to take Dante Moore off the list for obvious reasons, who are you most excited to just kind of see and see them out on the field again, see what they've worked on, what they've done this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I think that some names that have came up just in conversations, especially some little more under the radar guys that might have not played as much. Jeremiah McClelland, heard like incredible things about him. I think he's about to pop and have a big year. I think like being able to watch a full year of Kenyon Sadiq get full on reps. I think a lot of us are
Yeah.
excited there. I think I'm excited to watch a lot of these like young safeties. We haven't had a ton of like speed length combinations there the last few years. We've had like super high floor guys, but not necessarily like high impact, like rangy long dudes. And the stuff I hear about Kingston Lopa has been, really, really exciting. And then he's not a returner per se, but we've been told on multiple occasions that staff thinks that Dylan Thieneman is like the best player on the roster.
Oh,
And he's
yeah.
like a for sure fire, like NFL guy, probably only a 1 year guy, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But like, I just think the safety room this year is going to look entirely differently than we've seen the last couple of years.
Honestly, at
Yeah,
this point, I think you'd take just 1 year from Dylan. Like, I think if that's what you can get, I think that's what fans would hope for rather than 2 years. Like, you want him to be that good.
yeah, to
Yeah.
where he is forced to go to NFL.
Yeah.
With the departures of 30 plus seniors, um, who do you see rising as as leaders in each position group? Not you don't have to go through each individual position group, but like I'm thinking about Bosa gone, right? Like guys that had a presence that that can be respected amongst other kids, basically, trying to find their way.
Yeah, I mean, I think defensively, it's easier in my mind. I think I mentioned him earlier, like
Beck,
Bryce. That's
yeah,
like that's a dude that commands respect wherever he goes, and obviously being like Eugene, born and raised, and loving Oregon. I think he's a natural guy. I think Devin Jackson made a ton of strides alongside him, and um, you know is there right alongside of him. I think a guy like guys like Mateo and Tatum, um, returners on the edge, I think are obviously just like work ethic wise, respect wise, culture wise, like those are dudes that are looked up to. Offensively, it's kind of a question. I mean, I think you're obviously replacing a ton of dudes. You're bringing in some portal guys like Hughes from Tulane that I think is going to be an incredible player. Whether he like steps up in a leadership role right away, like we'll see. And then obviously at receiver, getting Stewart back, and then alongside some like crazy impactful young guys, will be interesting. But another Ducks Rising plug. I mean, a guy like Justice Lowe, like another like Oregon dude, like works his ass off, amazing blocker, like reliable, dependable. Um, I don't think. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jay Stu, but like you don't need to be the best player on the team to be the freaking leader.
no,
Um, I
You
think
just have to
like some
do
of
all the
the
little you have to be a guy that's doing all the little things consistently well all the time. Like whether it's showing up to the weight room at the same time every single day. Sometimes it takes, I've had guys that were my backups that I depended on to be there, just be there, because I need that juice. You know what I'm saying? Like I had a teammate, Fozzie Whitaker, one of my favorite teammates of all time. He played at Texas running back. And every morning he was in the cafeteria at a table drinking orange juice and cranberry juice mixed in a cup, and he would call it his island. Hey, baby, you got to find your island, right? Because no matter what, things are going to go bad, things are going to go good, but you got to find that island. So having teammates like that, that are consistent, you know, to me, they understand what their role is. They understand who their position is, and it helps you mold yourself into what your role is on the team. Right? All right, man, he's consistent today. I gotta make sure I bring what, my teammates are expecting of me every single day. And so to your point, you don't have to be the best person on the team. Just be consistent and do the things that people are expecting of you every single day.
I feel like one of the biggest questions I have is on the offensive line once again this year. I mean, we know what we got at center. I think we know what we got in Jay Stu's boy Isaiah World out of left tackle, with Pregnon probably coming in at left guard, and then right guard up in the air with Bedford. I don't know about his injury. I don't know. Dave Iuli is going to be also in the mix. You got Alex Harkey. You got Janoris Wilson. There's just so many guys. Like I'm not asking you for a set answer because I don't think you know as well as any of us do. We need to see them play for a little bit. But what's your kind of sense for how they're going to juggle so many of those players and trying to find that right fit this year?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely differing opinions out there. I think we've had a couple different people, who are film guys pop in and out of Ducks Rising and kind of give different opinions when it comes to specifically tackle. How I'm thinking about it is this basically, Poncho comes back, so we're theoretically getting better at center. He's going to, I would hope, get better in off season. I think Pregnon is a clear upgrade at guard. He's an NFL guy, could have been an NFL guy this year. I think he's the best, probably interior guy we've had in the last couple of years. I know things are a little bit fluid with Bedford, but I'm not counting on him right now to be a contributor given his health and just status. So I think that spot's probably Dave Iuli's to lose, and I think that bodes well for Oregon. I think the combination of Poncho as a third year alongside those two guards is probably the best inside we've been in a little while, and I think we've struggled to run the ball inside the last couple of years for the most part. So I think that those three are set, and then I don't know. Harkey, as far as I'm concerned, can replicate what Cornelius was the last 2 years. The guy I probably trust most when it comes to film thinks the same. And so when I'm looking at that fifth spot when it comes to World, it's like, if we're upgrading at 4 out of 5 spots and World is even 80-90% a Connerly, then you're in a good spot with bringing in a guy like Hughes with it. So I think naturally, you're never in a spot ideally where you're bringing in 3 portal linemen to start. But I think given the situation we were in, the staff did a pretty good job with filling those spots. And I don't know. I'm excited to see how it shakes out. If a guy like Wilson pushes for a spot, great. A guy like Zaire Addison, he told our staff last year as a true freshman, like his goal was to start at left tackle as a true freshman. Like, what do I need to do? Like, I love it. If he does, okay. But I think we have more depth than we've had over the last couple of years there. I mean, last year, if we had lost Cornelius or Connerly at any point, like it would have been a little grim.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what gives me so much encouragement though, is that like we saw earlier in the season last year that this coaching staff is able to move these guys around and they're able to be fluid and find the right fits and willing to work guys around in spots and find the right spots. So, and I was listening to a podcast with Jeff Schwartz the other day, and he was talking about Harkey and how he doesn't think he's going to be a tackle. He thinks he's going to be a guard and all of this stuff. So it's like I'm just curious how the staff. I mean, all these Twitter film guys can say whatever they want. I'm curious what the staff thinks. I can't wait to see that in spring football, see where these guys actually play.
Yeah, I think you have a little bit of optionality. I mean, I think that even the people who I've talked to that think that he will be a good right tackle would probably acknowledge that he'd be a really good guard too. So I think if you can find a right tackle out of Wilson. Maybe like a guy like Trent Ferguson. He's an Oregon guy. Staff speaks really highly of him. He might need another year, or one of these true freshmen step up. Then great. I mean, if you could go Harkey, Pregnon, Poncho inside, that's really good. But
It's really good.
you need someone to fill that tackle spot. So I think, I mean, it's never ideal to early in the season mix and match a little bit, but I think our schedule early on next year allows us probably to play with things a little bit those first 2-3 games and get to a good spot, for that Penn State game.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The schedule is in our favor to figure things out, kind of similar to what we experienced this year. And I think people should take a page out of Ohio State's page. I'm not gonna say that often. They had some injuries mid-season at the offensive line, and you mentioned needing to find the right tackle. You can get by at the offensive line if you have a solid center and two guards, because then you just get into the gap scheme, right? And so the best protection, in my opinion, for a quarterback is a running game. And if you have center and two guards, you can figure out a way to run the ball. And so it will be interesting to see what spring ball really presents as far as the offensive line. The biggest thing is just depth. Is he just a guy that's going to fulfill the duties, or is he a guy, you know what I'm saying, that's in development? And so that's going to be the telling story of spring ball, in my opinion.
Travis, I'll get you out on this. I know we got to go soon, but just some low hanging fruit. Decorian Moore. I mean, he's who everyone wants to talk about. He's the guy in this class, maybe one of the guys that Oregon's ever gotten. What have you heard from, winter workouts? What's your level of excitement? Because I know that, from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, it's just like, I can't wait to watch this guy. I think he could start right away.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard. I feel like the last couple of years have kind of jaded us and how easy it is for a receiver to walk. You saw the Ryan Williams this year, Jeremiah Smith, obviously this year. And I don't know, part of me is like, yeah, he's going to walk in and be that guy day one because we've seen guys do it. The other part of me is like, gosh, comparing anyone to the immediate impact those guys made is crazy. I do think he has the ability to kind of, grow into it a little bit if he needs to, though. You have Evan Stewart there. You have Justice Lowe there. You have Jeremiah McClellan, who I think has a year under the wings and by all intents and purposes has looked really, really good in practice. So I think the thing that makes me confident is you've got guys in the room there who have had success at this level or have had a year under their belt. And so, I mean, the pressure's off. Ryan Williams had to be like the guy day one there last year. And so I think what's working in Decorian's favor is obviously enrolled early, been in there, been in the playbook. And I think obviously for him too, Dante's more skill set meshes really well. And I think that's the same for Evan Stewart and any of these, downfield guys. I think Dante is going to be a really exciting piece for them.
One of the things that gave me the most encouragement is that Decorian Moore got number 1 too. He's getting one of those prime jersey numbers that maybe I don't think you see many freshmen wearing number 1 out there. So I think that shows how highly the staff thinks of him.
For sure.
Yeah, all right, well, let's get it out. Let's get it out on there, Sergeant Stu. I know Travis got to go soon. Travis, thank you so much for coming on with us, telling us all about Ducks Rising 2.0. I encourage all fans to go out there, subscribe, get in on those tiers, get some of that early access on information, and help build this team. I mean, you heard him say it. The money goes directly into that team. 97% of that is going to the players. So if you want to build that championship roster in Eugene, I mean, you have the direct ability to help. Travis, can you tell listeners once again just kind of how they can get involved, where exactly they can go and sign up?
Yeah, just check out ducksrising.com. All membership options, tiers are there. Super cool time right now to get in. We just launched premium channel, players lounge channel. We've got 2 Q&As we're launching and announcing in the next couple days. Just signed Bryce Betcher and announced it today. So exciting things to come. Just appreciate you guys having me on and talking some ball.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Yep.
See you.
All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you again to Travis for coming on and telling us all about Ducks Rising 2.0. If you have not already, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to go subscribe to one of the tiers. It is all for a really good cause. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you're a Duck fan and you want them to have, as good of a roster as possible, and subscribing to Ducks Rising 2.0 directly benefits that and helps them, get kids out of the portal, get them recruiting, helps NIL funds and helps get them on the roster in Eugene. So again, go to ducksrising.com, sign up for one of the tiers and just get in on that community. It's really good. You can check out more of my work at duckswire.usatoday.com. Follow me at Zachary C. Neel on Twitter. Follow Jay Stu on Twitter at Jonathan Stu R1. Make sure to check out the Believe in Panthers podcast and the Stu and Crew podcast. For myself, Zach Neel, for my co-host Jonathan Stewart, we'll talk to you guys next week. Until then, take it easy.